For 30 years, I've been warning people in my books and in every other way I can that this world is controlled by a global network. I call it the cult. So what have I said in this 30 years that this cult wants? The goal of this manipulation, and has been for a very long time, is to get the world population to see as a good idea, or the only option in given circumstances that are manipulated into place, the creation of a one world government, a world central bank which would administer all financial transactions on the planet, a world currency which wouldn't be coins and notes, it would be merely electronic, cashless society for which there are fundamental implications for freedom. Something else I've been saying for decades is the blueprint for the global Orwellian fascist society, the technocracy, is China. Unlike in the West, where until now, no longer, they've had to pay lip service to freedom and democracy and all that stuff. In China, what we want, we're bloody doing. And so they've been able to create and incubate the very society that this cult wants globally. This is how it works in China. They have millions of face recognition cameras in their cities. And so as you're walking down the street, you are able to be tracked and identified literally in minutes. You are so tracked in detail in China that they know everything you do all the time. And AI is logging your behavior. And they have something called the social credit system. When you act in ways that are acceptable to the state, you get credits. When you act in ways that the state doesn't want you to behave, you get credits taken away. And when you fall below a certain level, consequences kick in. There are millions and millions of people in China who, through not behaving as the government wants, are now banned from flying or banned from even going on a train. And this is what is planned. It's total and utter control. The Chinese structure of society and its authoritarian imposition and AI minute by minute real-time tracking of the population, that is exactly what I've been describing is planned for the world for 30 years.
The World Economic Forum has been involved in China since 1979, and we have been part of the development of this country now for nearly 30 years.
I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. I think it's a role model for many countries. The Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for quite a number of countries.
Ramping things up in a very aggressive manner, and people are now realizing it's almost like we're sleeping and they're building a cage around us as we're sleeping. What are the signs that you're seeing that they're ramping up this, and how far do you think they are away from achieving that goal of that totalitarian police, surveillance state or surveillance police state?
They are realizing they're running out of time because more people are waking up. What they don't get, though, is people are waking up because they're ramping it up, right? It's getting so ridiculous. So they're kind of running out of time. They have a feeling, rightly so, the window is kind of closing because the critical voices are becoming more and they're becoming louder. So that's why they're ramping things up. And you see that. So, I mean, there is so many issues going on right now. They're erecting these 15-minute ghettos. That's what I call them. And they're starting with that pretty much in Great Britain. Then in Ireland too, it's kind of starting there. In Netherlands, of course. You have they bash down the farmers. Once again, we're being told it's just, to make a better life for us, to make the world a better place. But what it actually means is you won't have food. If the farmers don't produce food anymore, you won't have anything to eat. It's as simple as that. And tying into that, I wonder why Bill Gates all of a sudden, buys farmland, like crazy. Why would you do that? Well, if you have control over the food, you have total control of the people. So we're seeing all of these issues going on. Digital identity, next thing. Digital identity, it's not so your life is easier. It's so government has total control over you. Look to China, with that social credit system. That's our future. And I'm not talking the future 30, 40, 50 years from now. It's happening now. It is happening now. Digital currency. Oh, isn't that's the creme de la creme of all control mechanisms. I mean, what do you think is going to happen if the next time you refuse to take an mRNA shot? With a flip of a switch, they just cancel your account. You cannot buy food anymore. You cannot do anything anymore. That's pretty much where I think it's going. It's to erect a totalitarian surveillance state.
It is a sovereignty issue. So the WHO wants the right to tell us what drugs we can and can't have and how we are to manage health emergencies in the future. But by also creating this thing they call the One Health approach, which enables everything else to be wrapped up into health, it seems that the sovereignty grab is going to be greater than just health, right? If you say climate change, health is related to climate, so now we can call climate emergencies or something like that. It seems that it is a power grab, a financial grab, because the WHO will need to be funded much, we don't know how much more, but it's going to be very expensive. The architecture for this whole, what is called international pandemic preparedness, it's also called the biosecurity agenda, has a few other names, but the architecture has been being built for the last 5 to 10 years, both in the US and overseas, particularly in Europe. So this is nothing new. The things that are in the treaty and in the international health regulation amendments that you would think wouldn't be put into place until after these documents have been voted on and passed, they're already being put into place, right? I tend to look at it myself, and this is my opinion, as one puzzle piece in a larger puzzle where there will be control of agriculture, food, energy, and other things as globalists try to cement control of critical industries. And they're already talking in documents of the World Bank, the G20, the EU. They're talking about global governance. So I think that's where they hope this is going. Obviously, our Constitution doesn't go along with that, and nor does the Constitution of many other countries. So it's going to be a power struggle, and will the ability to initiate more pandemics play into this? Will they be able to generate enough fear so that people say, yes, WHO, save me. I will turn over, sovereignty if you just give me the drugs and vaccines I need. I don't know how it's going to play out, but the UN has issued this year 11 new brochures about all the new ways the world is supposed to operate. It's called Our Common Agenda. And one is changing the financial architecture, and so they really want everybody to have all their money being electronic, manageable. No transactions will be opaque. The government will know everything you're buying and be able to program what you buy. So it seems like those are other puzzle pieces. And
let's just touch on that as we finish up, because I think it's important to mention, like, for the typical person on the street, we're talking about something like a vaccine passport that's tied into the currency, which then can be turned on and off at will, which is, and in fact, that's exactly what numerous people who have been involved in the development of these things say is the value, actually, the benefit of such items.
Right. The benefit to central controllers, but there isn't any apparent benefit to the individual who will be, chained, restricted by electronic money. We're making extraordinary claims, but we have the documents from the G20, the EU, the World Bank, the United States, the UN, and the WHO to back up these claims. And it will help everyone if they understand what is going on behind the scenes.
It's Ajalabi. Welcome to What's in My Bag Survival Edition. Don't forget the matches and, of course, the right turn.
We need a great reset. Call for action to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack.
The deadline for us is going to be October of 25. Put to reality this digital euro.
Wearable devices. So these are brain sensors that are starting to be embedded in everyday devices, but until now have been a number of niche companies that really have focused on mindfulness and meditation. The use of, for example, brain sensors that can pick up electrical activity in the brain at a pretty low resolution, but advances in AI have both improved what the signal is that can come from the brain and enabled the miniaturization of those products. As a lot of the major tech companies start to invest in these brain sensors, it's a huge, I think, untapped market in many ways of integrating them into everyday devices. These are earbuds or watches or headphones and the soft cups around the ears. Many of those products are hitting the market this year, and others are hitting them within the next 2 years, such that people can listen to music, a phone call, etc., while having those devices in ears. Initially, what they will be capable of doing is very high-level brain state reading. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad? They maybe enable interaction like up, down, left, right for interaction with other technologies. And they're being embedded into things like virtual reality headsets.
They have literally delayed their agenda because I think it's so important to them. They've been very careful about the timing, and let's wait a little longer, let's wait a little longer, let's have this crisis first, let's have COVID first, soften them up. But they've delayed because the technology was already ready around 2015 to roll out. Mm. And what people don't mention is, what do these CBDCs actually look like? At the moment, there's a bit of talk about this being phone-based apps. And yes, that is the initial phase. But what was already ready around 2015 is the ultimate goal, what they really want. Apparently, I was told by a central banker, is, CBDCs looks like a small grain of rice that they want to put under your skin, which is, in my view, a violation of human dignity. And they realize there is a hurdle. So to get people to accept this, there will be, why suddenly are all the billionaires saying, let's have universal basic income? Because the story is going to be, now we've created this vast unemployment and disruption and crises. Well, we need universal basic income. You will get 2,000 euros into your account every month. But of course, to run this efficiently, we need to use the latest technology. So, you need the CBDC chip implant. But how many people will say, okay, fine, 2,000 pounds, 2,000 euros,
A surprising proportion.
What would you like to see as your legacy in 10, 15 years?
Of the new work?
Of the new work,
yeah.
Of your new function.
Well, I set very ambitious goals because I'm quite optimistic. If you look at, say, the 20 diseases that our global health program goes after, I'd hope that within 15 years, over half of those, we could have had a very dramatic impact. Huge change in the mortality rates in developing countries, which then has this effect of reducing population growth. That's this big benefit that then makes everything like education and nutrition a lot easier. So I have very high expectations.
We are in a very emotionalized way. So there's an emotional turmoil in the world. People in some parts of the world are angry. Facts do not anymore count. Fake news may become more important than realities. You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now there is, of course, an anti-system which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives. If we want to go forward, we need a completely new thinking. I would like to make some betting with you. When we meet for the 20th, I hope I will have the pleasure still to be invited for the meeting. When we meet for the 20th Governance Summit, you will use an app like Uber, but not anymore to call some driver, but an automatically guided car, a self-driven car, will come to your hotel or wherever you are and will bring you to the airport. Actually, I had a discussion some months ago with the mayor of Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is one of the cities with the heaviest traffic, who told me in 2030, Los Angeles will be private car-driven free. And this will allow to transform highways into parks and other public spheres.
It is safe to say that everything so-called conspiracy theorists have been warning about are here, pretty much. Through the years, there have been particular individuals that have dedicated their lives in warning the masses out here of impending doom, impending catastrophic events that will bring about the total collapse of the present system we are under, and will ultimately erect a new system. And this new system is designed to put you in a perpetual servitude to the puppet masters, the powers that shouldn't be. So this new system, the infrastructures have already been laid out, right? The system, as well, I put together a couple of clips that will inform you, and if you already know about these things, to keep you updated and to keep your mind sharp on the matters at hand, because we're living in a time where propaganda, distractions, right, bread and circuses, so you can easily get sidetracked. It can easily be messed with in your mind to focus or put your attention on things that doesn't really have any real weight. Meanwhile, things that would totally affect you, affect your livelihood, affect everybody around you, are being put in place. And to get to this new way of living, like the old saying, this is the end of the world like you know it. Teotihuacan, I believe, right? This is the end of the world as you know it. So the world as you know it, which, growing up, however old you are, some have lived through different scenarios of this life, right? So the end of the world as we know it has been crumbling down, which, believe it or not, is done by design, right, to usher in this new way of living. So the end of the world as you know it is crumbling, right? It is crumbling right before your very own eyes. A lot of people, can decide to dismiss it because the reality of it all, a lot of people can't handle it. So they try to sugarcoat it, play it off as, that can't really happen, will it? Well, it can and it will happen. And this is what we are living through right now. Which brings us here, real quick, in the book of Acts, the 14th chapter, the 22nd verse. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of the Most High God. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 mighty men of the house of Israel, down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, who are of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom. So, the warning has gone out. A lot of information that easily accessible, right now, because a lot of individuals have put their lives on the line to warn you about a lot of things that are happening, right? Some of them are prophets. Some of them are just concerned citizens, if you will, right? Concerned humans that see the agenda and they try to be a form of a whistleblower to pretty much alert you of what is happening. And part of what is happening is the tribulation that is coming right up. In one of the clips, which I'll show you some of the clips, I already put it on in the video. You will see it before you hear me talking. So we look up the word here, we read this again in Acts, the 14th chapter, in the 22nd verse. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in their faith. So part of this knowledge is to continue in this knowledge to the very end, no matter what the end is. Because it's written in the Bible that a lot of the prophets, a lot of the men of the Lord and women will be beheaded for their faith, for not trying to bend the knee to the image of Baal, bend the knee to the new system. Because you refusing to consent to the new system can cost you everything, even your very own life, right? That's what the scripture is saying here. And that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of heaven. Now, if you look up that word here, tribulation, let's get it real quick. Excuse me, if I can find it here. Yep, there it is. So if you look up the word tribulation in the Greek,
Strong's G 2347. Thlipsis.
As I said, and if you look it up, it says tribulation, affliction, trouble, anguish, persecution, burdened, to be afflicted. It says oppressing, pressing together, pressure. So that is that pressure from below, pressure from above, and they will compress you, just like a python putting the squeeze on its prey before it swallows it whole, right? So you're about to feel that pressure, and we're already feeling it, the beginning stages of this pressure, right? They're putting the squeeze on the people, right? Eventually, a lot of people won't be able to handle that squeeze. Some people will opt out, and they will think in their minds, all they got to do is bend the knee, and this pressure will ease off of them, right? But if you know anything about the devil, if you know anything about snake, right? Just because you go willy-nilly for the snake to swallow you whole doesn't mean he's not going to swallow you whole, or doesn't mean that he will, make promises, make do on the promises, right? Because a lot of them tell, all you got to do is take this or take that, and your life will get back to normal. Well, there's always a catch-22. Understand that. So that's what the scripture is telling you here. Metaphorically, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits, oppression. None of this sounds good, and it is for a reason. It's not supposed to sound good, right? Because we're about to go through some crazy times. Like here you have it. The Great Reset is underway. And in this, the lady is talking about survival bag, right? You have your lighter, and in lieu of recent events that happened in Europe, where, well, it was on here, the massive power outage, right? Which, they tried to underplay it. Best believe a lot of people lost their lives, right? It wasn't a sweet ordeal. They went through some harsh reality check with the power grid being shut off. Believe it or not, it was done by design. And prepare for things like this to be happening near you, right? This is part of the squeeze, part of the pressure that they will put on the people to break you down to the point where any agenda they present to you, you would just accept it. So you wouldn't have to go through this tribulations. You wouldn't have to go through this pressure, troublesome times, and all of that, right? And you have this lady going into the wearables, which is part of the system, right? Which is part of the new system they're going to have to augment humanity, going into your Internet of all things, right? IOBs, Internet of Bodies, to have all these wearables. Ultimately, all these wearables will be embedded directly inside of you. You have the CEO of Nokia telling you about these things. That very soon you wouldn't need to have any phones, because you have your brain computer interfaces. All these devices will be put directly inside of you. So right now, they're in the gradualism stage, right? To tell you about our brain sensors embedded in headphones and other devices that will soon be monitoring your brain activity. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad, right? You own nothing and be happy, right? So they will have all these devices directly inside of you, and if you're sad about any agenda that they're pushing out there, guess what? They will be alerted immediately, and your livelihood will be at stake. Then it goes into transhuman technology. This is part of that technology, which, like the lady said, the wearables, your headphones and all that. But in this case, they put it on the fingertips, and this device is powered by your sweat and your own bodily energy, right? Because we are energetic beings. Your power source will be powering these devices. So that's where we are. And you have German MEP Christian Andersen says the aggressive push to roll out 15-minute cities, digital IDs, and CBDCs is a desperate attempt to erect a totalitarian surveillance state, right? They can't wait to get this up and running. That is where you get that term, Operation Warp Speed, right? So that Operation Warp Speed is to quickly bring all these things to fruition. You see? To bring it all to fruition. They can't wait to get there. That's why they're putting the squeeze on the people, right? Putting the squeeze on the people. It says before too many people wake up, right? It says digital currency is the creme de la creme of all control mechanisms. You see that? So the CBDCs and all that, that's why they're talking about real IDs and things of that nature, because everything is going to that digital way of living. Like I said earlier, Teotihuacan, meaning the end of the world as you know it, right? So this form of way we know, using the fiat currencies, being able to go into stores and buy something and pay with money will no longer be the norm, right? Now you have UBIs, Universal Basic Income, which will be paid indirectly into your digital wallet, right? And you will need your digital identity to access it. See where it's all going? That is the new age. Welcome to the new age. Radioactive. It says, what do you think is going to happen the next time you refuse to take an shot? It says, with the flip of a switch, they just cancel your account. You cannot buy food anymore. You cannot do anything anymore. So that's why, going back to what I said earlier, that everything that the so-called conspiracy theorists have been warning about here, basically, they're all here, right? It's no longer a conspiracy theory. It is facts. Facts. You have this meeting here back in 2015 where, the turtle head, Klaus Schwab, he made a statement. It says, speaking at the World Government Summit in 2015, founder of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, predicts that by 2030, people will no longer own private vehicles, but will be driven around by autonomous self-driven cars, right? Self-driving cars summoned through a smartphone app. says, but only if your social credit score is high enough. You see where this is all going? Everything will be connected digitally. That's why you can't own your own cars, because if you own your own car, you just hop in your car and go wherever you want to go, right? That's why they're moving towards electric vehicles, which can be remotely controlled. Show you that and leave the world behind, where all those electric vehicles were just smashing into one another. It says only if your social credit score is high enough, you haven't exceeded your personal carbon allowance. See where the world is going? That's why it says the end of the world as you know it. Now you'll be given carbon allowance. That's why they're pushing heavily the whole climate change hoax. It says, and you are up to date with all your required juices. It says, and don't even think about venturing outside your designated 15-minute cities. You see? So all these autonomous self-driving cars, they whip it out like it's the best thing going, right? The best thing since cooked food. Well, it is all part of that control, that total control. And to keep you a perpetual slave to the oligarchs that run the whole show. It says, speaking at the WEF in 2008, Bill Gates tells Klaus Schwab about his mission to depopulate the third world by reducing the mortality rates of common diseases. It says, translation, we'll reduce the population of developing countries by sterilizing everybody with, you see that? It says, under the guise of reducing the mortality rate of common diseases. And there you have it. And all of this stuff are in full motion right now. It's already happening. It's no longer conspiracy theory. They've already done this. They have this, quote unquote. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. Because remember earlier, this lady here, Christine, she's talking about how they're rushing before too many people wake up. So now they're noticing that a lot of people are now, getting hit to all the agendas. Anytime they pull a false flag, 15 minutes later it's being deciphered with the women that went to space, right? It didn't take long for a lot of people to call it bullshit. Excuse my French, right? So now this is what they got to deal with. They're like, man, we got to see a revolution against the system. World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab declares war on those of us who strive for less government intrusion into our lives. You see that? They've declared war on you. Says former World Economic Forum global leader for tomorrow turned whistleblower, economist Professor Richard Werner describes how, according to his sources, CBDCs will ultimately be stored on small microchips implanted under the skin. Everything that the so-called conspiracy theories have been warning about are here. And this is where you get your mark of the beast from. The beast system will introduce this microchip implants, and this man, he was in that circle, he knows everything about it. He's telling you that CBDCs will be a form of a microchip that will be put under your skin. It says, and universal basic income, which is the trap, will be used to bribe people into accepting the flagrant invasion of their freedom, privacy, and bodily autonomy. And there you have it. Because this man right here, he has the inside scoop of what the plans are, right? And he even in this, I included all these clips. You see all these clips, and he talked about how they can't wait to get to the agenda, right? They've already been a delay, right? They used the C19er to soften a lot of people up to be more accommodating of the agenda, right? That's what they did. It was a trial run. You see, he talked about all of that. And then this right here, China is the globalist blueprint for the West. It says, as so-called conspiracy theorists have been warning us for decades, China, with its social credit system, mandatory digital ID, CBDCs, and omnipresent biometric surveillance state, is the blueprint for what our self-appointed globalist overlords intend to roll out globally under Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda. And there you have it. There you have it. So going back to that tribulation, right? And that oppression, affliction, distress, straits, pressure, which brings us here real quick in the book of 2 Timothy, like it says here, difficult times will come. That is the subheading right there. Difficult times will come. It will. That's that tribulation that we are all about to go through. 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter and the 1st verse, it says, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And if you look up that word, perilous, let's get it real quick. Right here, G5467. And in the Greek,
Strong's G 5467. Chalipas. Chalipas.
Chalipas. It says hard to do, right? Put you in a bind. Very hard to function in this new age, in this new system that they can't wait to accomplish. It will be hard to function in that system because all the rules and regulations will put in here. They're talking about carbon footprints. You have your carbon allowance, right? You won't be allowed to eat meat. You won't be allowed to eat all kinds of food. You eat bugs and be happy and shut the hell up, or else they will turn off your chip. Your CBDCs in form of a microchip that will turn it off and you can't access nothing. See that? To take, to approach, hard to bear, troublesome, dangerous, troublesome, harsh, fierce, savage. So this is the times we're walking into. Perilous times. He goes on to say, through the idea of reducing the strength, difficult, i.e. dangerous, right? Furious, fierce, perilous. As the times are coming in, man. So you better buckle up. Buckle up. This is 1 Peter's, the 4th chapter and the 7th verse. It says, but the end of all things is at hand. But be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. The end of all things is at hand, which will bring, before that happens, he will bring in all kinds of lawlessness, anarchy, mayhem, right? Perilous times, tribulations, you name it, all kinds of hell will be breaking loose all around you. I'm talking pure hell. Imagine the lights going off, no internet, right? No 911. You can't call no 911. You'll be out there in the elements, right? Imagine that, if you will. People losing it. Children don't know where to turn to. Hungry for days, nothing to eat, and nothing in sight. Right? All kinds of craziness going. That's why the scripture is telling you, be ye therefore sober. In other words, be sober-minded. Don't get easily sidetracked. Don't get easily distracted. And watch unto prayer. You got to keep things in perspective. Keep your head in the swivel, so to speak. Right? Be circumspect. Keep watching, man. You see? It says, and above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. Telling you how to properly deal with the brotherhood, properly deal with the brethren, the congregation, right? Because you learn everything in the scriptures. The scriptures teach you everything there is to know, to guide you through life. Like they said, the Bible means basic instructions before leaving earth, right? This is Revelation, the 3rd chapter and the 10th verse. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So we're coming into an hour of temptation. What will be happening, you ask? Well, it's going to come down to the ground where you will be required, going back to the Richard Werner, which is the WEF turned whistleblower, I believe, you know, telling you that CBDCs, right? CBDCs will be a microchip under your skin. And in the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse, it tells you that he causeth all the he, being the wicked elites that run the whole show, will cause everybody to receive a mark in their right hand or in their head, which your main man, Elon Musk, is already on that, right? He's been pushing for his Neuralink for the longest. A lot of people seem to perceive that is all biblical prophecy, and that is part of the mark of the beast. See? That is that hour of temptation. You will be tempted. So remember, through much tribulation, straits, pressure, they will put you in a pickle that you will feel like, oh man, I got it. Well, they showed you the try run with that, with the whole juicy juice, the pandemic, right? If you don't get the arm candy, guess what? You can't get on a plane. You can't go to work. They threaten you with your job, your livelihood. You will lose your job, right? That was a trial run. That's exactly what they're going to do. And you will be tempted. Like, oh man, I have to feed my family. I have to do this. You know, start coming up with excuses. It's like a lot of people did during the, C-19er, right? They came up with a excuse. Oh man, we gotta go out. We gotta visit our families. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. We gotta go to the job. You know, that will be the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation. You will be tempted to take this mark of the beast. Because if you don't take it, well, they will take away everything from you. So now you'll be left for you to persevere through all of that, to keep your integrity. And remember that the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, is greater than the wicked elites, the oligarchs that run the whole show, who are Edomites, Idumeans, right? He's greater than them. They're just nothing but humans. They're wicked. Yeah, of course they're wicked. But at the end of the day, they're just mere mortals. It says, which shall come upon all the world. You see that? Tying back, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Going back to that scripture, this goes directly to that scripture, telling you that this will be a worldwide thing. It's like with the whole juicy juice, the jabby jabs, right? It says, which shall come upon the whole world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And guess what? The 11th verse goes on further to say, behold, I come quickly. Who is that? Our Lord Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. His true biblical name in the Hebrew tongue, the Lashawan Kodash, is Yahweh Shai, which means He, Yahweh Shai, is the Savior. It says, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast. What is that? Well, the wisdom and the understanding that comes from the scriptures. That comes from the word of the Lord. You got to hold it fast. Hold it fast. It means don't let it go, right? No matter what, retain this wisdom and understanding. Be as the cistern that can hold water, right? That no man take thy crown, right? Don't let anybody, no matter what you go through, no matter what situations you find yourself, and the people that put you in that situation is telling you all you got to do is take this or take that and your life will go back to normal. Guess what? You can't let that happen, because there's a stern warning in Revelation, the 13th chapter, that tells you not to take that mark of the beast. Because once you do take that mark of the beast, guess what? That is it for you right there. You basically signed your own death warrant. Once you do that, there's no coming back from that, man. You see? So you can't let anybody take your crown. Goes on to say, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. So pay attention. If you have the Spirit to receive all these messages, you better take heed. You better take heed. It is about to get real quick. This is Matthew, the 24th chapter and the 13th verse. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So if you got to endure to the end, you will be saved. So anybody that telling you, I've been saved, you know how Christians do. Modern Christians will tell you they've already been saved because they accept Jesus into their life. That is bullcrap, man. Being saved, meaning being saved from the onslaught of destruction, tribulation, mayhem that is about to happen in the world stage. To be saved out of it. Ultimately, World War III, when the missiles will be flying every which and every way. See what I'm saying? So you being saved from that, that is you actually being saved, not because it's I accept Jesus into my and all that crap. You know? That's when you really be saved. So it's telling you here, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So you got to get through all the tribulations, the pressure, the straits, the troublesome times. You got to get through all of that and maintain your integrity and your faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Then, Lord willing, you will be saved. You see? Just something, man, to keep you in the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.